Well, a very good evening to each and every one of you joining us for this week's episode of Your Manchester.
Hello.
How are you? How's your week been?
It's been busy. Not as busy as Holly Willoughby's, but we won't talk about that.
Yes.
We've got a really exciting show for you tonight, haven't we?
We have indeed. To Wong Foo is coming to the Hope Mill Theatre very, very soon. So we thought we'd catch up with one of their star players, the wonderful Gregory Haney. Will be joining us a little bit later on.
We're also joined by Tabitha and Ed to tell us all about the Masques.
The Mass. I've been back down to Corrie.
You have?
To find out who was in the back seat of that back boot.
You've been watching?
I've been watching it. I'm hooked on it. I tell you, I've got to be honest, I've not watched it for a good while. And now I've got back into it and I am hooked.
It's so exciting, isn't it?
It's so exciting.
Here's how your Wednesday evening with Your Manchester is shaping up. Oh, well, it's all been kicking off on Coronation Street this week, hasn't it?
It has indeed, and I managed to get a little speak with Jodie T.
Oh, yes, and Todd Boyce and Sally Ann Mappy.
Let's see how this week. Oh, warning, just before we start. Spoiler alert. Corrie time.
It's all going on, everybody. I do not lie to that. It is literally all going on. Now stick with us because we've got loads and loads of interviews, loads and loads of behind the scenes goss. Yes, basically just a lot of stuff that perhaps you shouldn't know just yet, but we'll give you the little insight on it. Oh yes, we will, Flowers.
He's been skirting along, but suddenly he's kind of got dragged into it because his mother's getting into trouble, isn't she?
But he's not been a big fan of her, a big fan of Stephen anyway, has he really?
No, but when somebody's in love with somebody, you have to accept that, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to tolerate that.
I suppose so, yeah. So it's going to be a nice incline of a story for you, is it?
Yeah, it's a great story for me. It's brilliant. It's different. It's challenging. It's something that we've never seen Tim do before, and we've managed to get out of the studio, which has been great. You know.
Yeah.
Get to do some locations, which always, add a bit of extra reality to the situation. So I've enjoyed all that.
And your character has been known most of the time, let's just say that. He's been kind of known as being a bit of a jokester, a bit of a prankster.
Yeah.
To have this, what looks like coming up now, is a very intense story for him.
Yeah, it's nice to see that other dimension, isn't it? It's nice to see a character that's, not just comic, that can do some sort of serious tragedy stuff as well. And yeah, it's been good for me. It's great.
It's all gone on. I mean, you've ended up in the back of a cab.
Yeah, I know.
Tell us how that came about.
How did that come about? Well, he got whacked over the back of the head and shoved in the back of the taxi by the murderer, didn't he?
Yeah.
And got left in it in the woods for a long time. It was Steve's cab because Tim's cab was somewhere else. But I spent a lot of time shoved in the boot of a car, which was a little bit cramped.
And you don't look very good in it.
No,
That's great.
Terrible,
makeup,
isn't
isn't
it? Yeah, they kept putting more and more and more on it. Every time there was a makeup check, like a bit more blood. By the end of it, I was absolutely drenched in the stuff.
Well, you say right at the end of it, for most of us who have watched the episode then, we think it's the end for you. And then there's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Just a little glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that...
Can't put him down, can they?
Can't put him down. So I'm guessing that you're going to still stay with it then?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened? Where could it possibly go? Without giving too much away, where could it go now for your character?
Well, I think when you've been, you've experienced such trauma like that, it's gonna have some effect on you, isn't it? It's not something that you can just bounce back from straight away. So we'll see how that affects him mentally.
Why should people stick with these episodes that are coming up within the next few weeks?
Because there's some brilliant performances in it. They're brilliantly directed. The scripts are good. The shots are great. It's just a little bit more, it's ensemble. It's just a little bit sort of a break, It's good.
I think you hit the nail on the head by calling it a thriller.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what
I think
we've
it
got
is
now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's amazing.
And you see the street come together to try and solve a problem.
As a community.
Yeah.
Doing what they do best, which is going from high drama to pure comedy in a blink.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
David Platt cracks me up.
Yeah, who'd have thought it? Right? Absolutely amazing.
Now I'm calling the police.
So you've managed to figure out that Stephen isn't who you thought he was.
No, and he's after her money. And she's
after her money.
fuming, and she's thinking, you're not running off with my money, mate.
Well, her
So I'm not
father
gonna
tried
let
it
you.
with Rita years
Exactly.
ago. So she's probably a bit more canny about it because of that.
She's learned some lessons from
Yeah.
Rita. And so she's thinking, no, you're not getting away with this. I'm stopping you. Oh, I'm playing you at your game, mate. And she nicks his passport.
She nicks that very passport, which is a dodgy situation to put yourself in, really.
Well,
isn't
she
it?
doesn't realise that he's killed people.
No, that's true.
She just thinks that he's a con man and a fraudster and a swindler. She doesn't realise that he's dangerous because she's never seen Stephen violent.
Yeah.
She saw Leo punch hit Stephen. She's never seen Stephen angry
Yeah.
or violent in any way.
He's been a desperate man. From the day he arrived in Weatherfield, he was desperate. You know, we never saw what happened in Milan, but he lost everything. It was ugly and horrible. And so he arrives in Weatherfield trying to act like it's all cool and calm. But, you know, it all catches up with him.
I'm in that much shock that I'm popping upstairs. We're handing back now, but I'm going to pop upstairs. Roy's got me a stiff one, apparently.
Well, there's something rather exciting coming to the Stoller Hall on Sunday, the 12th of November. And to join us to talk all about the Masques you're coming over, love, it's Tabitha and Ed.
Oh!
Hello to you both.
Hiya.
Hi.
So tell us about this show then, because it sounds very, very clever.
Well, it's an old Jacobean play, so written I think in 1606 or thereabouts. Now that's a year after the Gunpowder Plot, so it's all full of politics and scheming and everyone killing each other and lusting after each other and goodness knows what. And so we've described it as an operatic slasher.
How long have you guys been involved in this project? How did it come to be?
Well, I've been writing little operas for quite a while now, and I've had the great pleasure of working with Tabitha in the past. Tabitha is a opera director and designer, and so actually we brought them on board rather recently.
Yeah, it's been really interesting so far. I've had some meetings with the director, David Edwards, who's fabulous, and we spent a lot of time talking about all the different themes in this piece, and about it's such like a shockingly violent piece, which kind of in some ways is we associate quite a lot with opera, like that really extreme heightened melodrama of it all. And yeah, so at the moment we're just putting together the kind of visual design for the show and the costumes and making sure that everything has like a cohesive aesthetic vision.
So what are we expecting to see on the stage then? What will this visually look like to us?
So it's going to be in the round, and so the audience will feel like really involved in the action. And it's, even though this is the text is really old, it's a Jacobean tragedy, as Ed said, it's going to be set in the modern day in kind of a seedy criminal underworld. So you see all those kind of hierarchies playing out.
Even though it's quite an old piece of text, it's still sort of quite relevant in today's society, isn't it?
Yeah, I think some people think opera is rather elitist or remote, but I think actually the great thing about opera is the singing, and I think we kind of forget that at our peril. If you take an opera singer into, say, a school, and they sing in a school hall in front of the kids just are gobsmacked. Their mouths fall open. They can't believe that this kind of sound can emanate from a human being. I mean, it is really thrilling, and I think that's what we're about. Is using these singers who have this training. We call it classical training, I suppose, but whatever. Yeah, and then when you add that, the sound of the voice to the drama, it's compelling. We hope it's compelling.
Unfortunately for now, though, we are out of time. But When can we see this? Where can we see this? And of course, where can we get tickets to come and see this?
It's on in Manchester on the 12th of November, which is a Sunday, and it's at 4:30 in the afternoon at the Stoller Hall, which is in the Cathedral Quarter, is it not? And so people can do their shopping in the afternoon, go to it only lasts about an hour and a half or something, 4:30, and then they can have a bite to eat afterwards, and that's your day out. That's a great day out.
The Christmas markets are on then as well. So
Exactly,
why
it'd be
not
a
make
good
it
one,
there?
won't it? Definitely be a good
So
one.
Sunday the 12th of November in Stoller Hall.
Fabulous. Looking forward to it. Thanks very much for joining us today, guys.
Nearly a year.
2 months.
So he has good family values, he's trustworthy, and you can always count on him. Because the range of people that come in, some want to cause trouble, some don't. Some people want to make memories, and some don't. The people that we look out for are the people that want to ruin people's time of making memories.
I believe Canal Street is a very historic place and it's known for its safety and its welcomingness, and I believe I'm part of that working this evening.
I think we're different from everybody else because we like to interact with the customers.
A good security person should be able to not only be able to defend themselves in the venue they're protecting, but also work their way out of situations that might be uncomfortable and calm people down.
Training is very important because it helps you to diffuse problems that arise.
There was a lot of procedures different here in Manchester than my previous job in Burnley, so I needed to learn a lot of procedures. I had a wonderful core staff who walked me through everything I needed to know on my first shift in the first couple of hours.
And also any knowledge that you've learned to new people that come into the company, you can put on to them and show them what a good security should be.
Well, our Mark's not with us this week.
He's not. He's had quite a busy week. You might have seen on social media that he was partaking in a little walk around Heaton Park with a legend.
A legend, the one, the only Dame, as I call her.
Oh, yes.
Julie Goodyear.
Yeah, you might have seen that Julie was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it was a memory walk through Heaton Park. And
yeah.
She looked fantastic, didn't she?
I mean, you've got to take into account, for all those that have been a slight bit nasty about her online, first of all, she's not a young lady anymore.
She's not.
And also, because of that, she's done the most glamorous thing, in my opinion. She's let her hair go natural.
Oh, yes.
Very
yes.
natural.
Which I presume is what our Mark Llewellyn's done as well.
He has, as you can see from his little walk.
So behind me, the start of our walk this week is now the Convention Centre and, of course, Manchester Central, which is being geared up for a political conference, hence all the fencing. But it was actually opened in 1880 as the Manchester Central Railway Station, and trains would operate from here, Manchester to Liverpool and back. Now, the owners of the railway also wanted a hotel so that their guests could stay in Manchester in luxury. And there was a canopy running right away from the station across the road here to the Midland Hotel, which was their railway hotel. Now, long before the railway station, we get a clue in the names of the streets, Windmill Street and Mount Street. This was one of the highest points in the city centre, and it's where the windmill stood. But it was turned into railway and hotel. So back in 1819, there was a rally here, a demonstration, and it all turned rather ugly. It was a very peaceful demonstration, but the yeomanry, volunteers, yeomanry were called in to disperse it. Over 600 people were injured, 16 people were killed, and it's now known as the Peterloo Massacre, taking its name from St. Peter's Square and Waterloo, because it was not long after the Battle of Waterloo. This memorial now marks the spot where all that happened. It led to the working men getting the vote, but not all working men, and not for quite a number of years. That's how history goes. Across the road from the convention centre is Barbaroli Square, named after a famous conductor of the Halle Orchestra. Behind me, the Bridgewater Canal, named after the Duke of Bridgewater. His estate was at Worsley. In fact, it's where the new RHS Bridgewater Gardens are. And he had coal minings there. And he worked out that if he could get the coal right here into the city centre, he could charge more for it. So he had his canal constructed from Worsley all the way here into the city centre. The price of his coal went up, and he was a very rich man indeed. Now this stone here, known by some as Touchstone, is 18 tons of marble. Quite impressive, isn't it? And my friend Julie Hesmondhouse, who played Haley in Coronation Street, she got engaged sat on this. So two of the names we've just mentioned are now featured here. We have the statue, or bust of Barbaroli, and the Bridgewater Hall, home of course to the Halle Orchestra, who used to be at the Free Trade Hall. We covered that a few weeks ago in one of our walks. Now, lots of trams go past here, and that would affect the pitch and tone of the orchestra in there. And so actually the stage is built on springs and rollers, so it moves in time with the traffic outside and you don't notice a thing. Now on this side, at the side of the Bridgewater Hall, used to be a very famous pub. The landlord of the pub was once called Thomas Duckworth. And when the chap came to paint the name over the door, he misjudged and he ran out of space. So the pub became known as Tommy Ducks. It was demolished to make way for this development of the Bridgewater Hall. But some of you might remember it. It was very famous because on the ceiling were pinned lots of ladies' knickers. Whatever next. Now at the junction with Great Bridgewater Street, wonder who that's named after, we have one of the oldest pubs in Manchester, the Britain's Protection. As it says outside, goes back to 1811, though it's believed there was actually a pub on the site for a little bit longer than that. And the name comes from the soldiers who returned from war, from the Napoleonic War, Britain's Protection. There's another famous pub that relates to people returning from war, the Rovers Return. Of course, there's a real one just down by Salford, and there's one on the telly as well. And that refers to soldiers returning from the Boer War. Just like that one, this one seems to be missing an apostrophe in the name. I wonder what happened to that. So we can see the music from the Bridgewater Hall reflected here in the railings. We've got musical instruments going all the way along here. Also behind us, the Rain Bar. Why is it called that? Because the building was once an umbrella factory. And then across the road, the Peveril of the Peak, one of the most beautiful exteriors of pubs. And the name, there's a lot of conjecture, a lot of argument about where the name comes from, but most people think it was the name of a stagecoach which travelled over from the Peak District, and that was one of the pubs that it stopped at. In the war, it was also used by GIs. Something got rotten. But one little fact before we finish our walk, and that is that the Peveril of the Peak is probably the only detached pub building in the whole city centre. That's our walk for this week. I'll see you next week.
Well, a marvellous show is yet again coming to Hope Mill Theatre, and this time it's coming all the way over my favourite period. Oh. How excited. I am giddy. I am giddy. That is all I want to say. To Wong Foo, of course, started life as a movie and is now going to be a very well-acclaimed, I'm sure, because it's Hope Mill, musical. And joining us now is Gregory Haney to tell us all about it, playing Noxzema in this wonderful show, originally played by a marvellous actor. Welcome, Gregory. How are you?
Hi, Gregory. Well, how are you?
So who are you playing in this then? Let's get this clear.
I am Miss Noxzema Jackson.
Oh. It's just one of the best characters ever, isn't it?
I mean, let's just say it. It is.
It is. Who played it in the film then? This was
Snipes.
Yeah. Now he managed to confuse us all with his characterization. In fact, some would say we didn't even recognize him when he was playing that role. What is the difference going to be with this musical in comparison to the movie?
Well, I mean, we have the foundation of the movie. We have the original script from Douglas. And so the bones are still going to be there. The music is going to be all over the place. We've got club music. We've got country. We've got opera. We've got a little bit of jazz. We've got like strong musical theater sounds. There are a few that will get stuck in your head. But I feel like to wrap all that up, it's going to be, you know, a party of the 90s.
And Gregory, Hope Mill is such a good theatre, isn't it?
It is.
Have you performed there before?
I've not. The first time I was at the Hope Mill was for Manchester Pride this year.
Exciting.
Which was a wonderful event. Unfortunately, you were meant to be in the parade, but halfway round, of course, you lost your vehicle. You were in this gorgeous Cadillac, wasn't you?
Yes, it broke down just like the Cadillac in the movie broke down.
It's fate.
It was meant to be.
Right?
For those people that don't know the story of To Wong Foo, could you tell us a bit more about what the story is?
So basically, Noxzema and Vita win the Drag Queen of the Year contest in New York City, and Chi Chi, they adopt her as a baby queen, and they take her to California, which is where the whole United States pageant's going to be. But along the way, their car breaks down, like we just talked about, and they end up in a little small, like Midwestern town. And basically, with their, you know, style, wit, and exquisite wit, they sprinkle a little bit of glitter on that town that help them understand their self-worth, and then they get in the car and piss off.
I like that.
They just disappeared over the end.
The thing for me, I don't know about you.
Go on.
I am always obsessed when something translates from a film into a production, is the staging of everything. I mean, you see so many films these days become productions, and each one adapts sort of the settings and the costumes and so differently. What can you tell us about the staging, and how will it look to the audience that are going to go and see the show?
Well, I like to say that we are saturated with Drag Race. We're saturated with drag queens and everybody in our social media and on our tellies. And it's really beautiful to see that. But this particular film is 90s at its best. Like, you've got some hard hitters. This was like one of Rue's, like, what, second or third, like, movies that she'd ever done, which I also think was the birthplace of Drag Race, because if you think about it, she was racial tensions. And so the staging of it is going to stay true to the 90s era. And so there's no cell phones. We have to use maps. Like, it's all about that. And I think also the fact that, you know, the movie lends itself to the stage. It was written originally for the stage, and then he decided to make it into a film. So we've already got the bones for it.
It's gonna.
I'm loving all this American lingo, by the way. Cell phones.
I know. Cell phones, mobiles. Route 66.
Oh yes.
Route.
Trunk.
Listen, costume. Yeah, I know all of that. Costume wise, I mean, have you done drag before this?
I have been in drag before. I did the original cast of Bring It On, where I played a trans high school student. And so I was in like girl geesh, but I wasn't in full drag geesh. So I've never had to like put on the body, put on the hips. We just did a run of the show, and it was the first time that I had on my corset, and I almost died.
Not nice, is it, Flo? And I don't wear one anymore. You know, I wear scaffolding. It's easy. It really is.
I understand why drag queens like high chairs, because it's easier to get on and off.
That's why I've got these stools in here. Clever, right? Catch me sat down. So tell us about the costumes then. Big brash, are they?
I mean, yes, we have all of my costumes. I feel like my color palette is gold, which is accurate. And then Vita's is very like 1960s, 1950s, like early Hollywood. And Chi Chi, she has more of, you know, a New York City Bronx girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's got heart, this musical. Certainly going off the movie, it had a lot of heart.
Yes.
It's, you know, people think of drag queens, it's just funny. This has actually got a lot of heart behind it. Perhaps talk a bit about that.
Well, I mean, the whole show is a love letter to women, and it's a love letter to the art of drag. So it's just like, yes, we can laugh about it, but at the end of the day, like, there are real things that are happening, and we make sure to attack those with, you know, kindness and full of love. So I feel like the show itself is going to leave people with the biggest smiles on their face, and hopefully their belly's hurting from laughing so hard.
And then, is there anything after this show for its life after Hope Mill?
I don't know. Bring all your people that have money and that want it to transfer, because I love a transfer. I want to bring all the drag queens to London and just like tear the West End up.
Yeah, let's get it in the West End. Well, you've said it's on at Hope Mill Theatre, a venue which we absolutely love. When can people see it, and how do they get their hands on tickets, Gregory?
So you can go to hopemilltheater.com, and our first public preview is on the 21st of October. Woo, that's coming by really fast.
Not long away.
Woo! And then we'll be there until, I feel like, the first week of December, until the 16th or 7th.
Brilliant.
It's going to be good, isn't it? If I don't get an invite to this press night, I tell you, I will kick off right royally. I will. I won't be an happy bunny. But I mean, everybody should go and see this because it's just going to be quite the sensation.
Sounds fantastic, doesn't it?
And it's got a ginger drag queen as well.
Oh, yes. We like them, don't we? We know one or two of them.
And just for my audience out here, if you look on the promo, you'll notice that the ginger drag queen is wearing a very familiar hairpiece as lent to yourselves by myself. That's a fun fact.
Wow.
The hair apparently was stuck in America. So I was roped in to get my good hair out for them.
the good piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
A show about drag queens. When will it stop?
Oh, I know. You're everywhere, aren't you?
Eh?
I'm afraid to say that's the end of the programme.
You're joking me.
No.
So soon.
I know, but we are back again next week.
We are indeed. We've got loads and loads coming on. And don't forget to check out our website because there's loads going on there as well. Steve Stockton puts together a weekly what's going on and the best places to go and see.
And there's a lot going on, including, of course, down at Coronation Street too. And the final part of that is next week at 8 o'clock. We will see you again for even more.
Your Manchester! How fantastic. What a lovely day we've had. It's been lovely weather.